You ever notice how peace and quiet in the suburbs is really just a fragile little illusion, one that can be shattered in a heartbeat? Yeah, that was us living on a street so obsessively manicured it looked like a diorama you'd see at a model home showcase. Lawns cut to perfection, houses painted every shade of non-offensive beige and tan. A silence so deep you could hear the neighbors' sprinklers at sunrise like a choir. We moved there thinking it was safe, predictable, the kind of place where nothing really happened, except maybe a neighbor complaining about your mailbox being the wrong shade of white. We wanted all that for my son. He's a quiet kid, definitely not into football or backyard barbecues, more like deep in his computer, happier writing code or gaming than tossing a ball in the sun. I never really got his world, but I respected it, you know? Only his world started falling apart because of something as stupid as our home internet. We'd been fighting a losing battle for months, upgrading our plan, replacing routers, even having techs come out, all to watch my Zoom calls freeze, and his games lag so bad he'd get booted before the match even started. And every time the techs would tell us everything's fine on our end, which was just about the most infuriating phrase in the English language. I'd resigned myself to a life of buffering, but my son? Not a chance. He started digging through usage logs, packet data, all this stuff that looked like the Matrix to me. And then one night, he just looked at me and said, "Mom, someone's stealing our bandwidth." Sure enough, he pulls up a list of connected devices, and it's not just our laptops and phones. There's a handful with generic names like Android 123, some weird desktop, Ghosts in the Machine. And he's got a theory. It's the woman next door, the one who never trims her roses and grunts at you when you wave. Now, this lady, let's just call her Sandra, was the walking definition of suburban resentment. Single mom, 2 kids, always glued to their screens, but not in the house outside, sitting on the curb, faces blue lit and dead silent. That should have been a clue, I guess. First time I met her, I brought over a welcome basket and she just stared at our router, then made some offhand comment like, "Must be nice to have the good internet." Didn't think much of it. Looking back, I should have changed our password right then. Turns out our Wi-Fi password was the dog's name backwards. Rookie move, I know. I told my son to fix it, and boy, he didn't just pick a better password. He built a digital fortress. 32 random characters changed the network name, set up Mac, filtering all this stuff. He was proud. Me, I felt like we'd finally won a round. Next day, everything's flying. No more buffering, no more lag. We joked about it. I glanced out the window more than once, kind of hoping to see her kids looking confused. But then things took a turn I never saw coming. The day after we locked the Wi-Fi, Sandra came stomping into our yard in a rage that was almost theatrical. She had her old router in one hand like a scepter and screamed at our house that we'd cut her off. Next thing I knew, she hurled a rock through our living room window, shattered it. I called 911, hands shaking, and when the cops showed up, they acted like I'd just called them about a stray cat. Neighbor trouble, huh? Like it was my fault for changing my own password. Sandra played the victim for them, crying, blaming us for harassment, painting my son as some kind of hacker out to torment her poor kids. The cops took her side, more or less said we should just stay away from each other, and left us in a house full of glass. I should have known then things were only getting started. That night, my son, shaken sure but stubborn, said something didn't add up. Sandra's meltdown wasn't about Netflix or gaming. He went back into the router logs and found a pattern-encrypted data being relayed out of our network to servers scattered around the globe. Not normal web traffic, something darker, hidden, routed through our connection because ours was fast and clean. He said, "Mom, it's like she's running part of a network using us as a relay point." I'll be honest, I didn't even want to believe it. But as he dug deeper, it got worse. He found custom software on her devices, something designed to hijack home Wi-Fi, relay encrypted data, bounce it all over. Sometimes he'd see activity spike in the middle of the night, always routed through the same shadowy IPs. Then came the real punch in the gut. He found a corrupted data fragment, and inside it, a thumbnail image, grainy but clear enough to see a little girl crying on a bed in a room with the same cartoon wallpaper he'd seen through Sandra's window. That was her daughter. I felt like the floor had dropped out. We weren't just dealing with stolen Wi-Fi or even regular cybercrime. Our network, our lives had been hijacked by something monstrous. Child exploitation streamed and sold and hidden behind a password as weak as my dog's name. My son was the one who uncovered it, and suddenly everything, the rock, the rage, the paranoia clicked. Sandra wasn't just desperate for internet. She was desperate to keep her connection to that network alive. We knew we had to go to the authorities, but not the regular cops. My son gathered every bit of evidence and we called the county's Special Victims Unit. This time, they listened. A detective named Jacobson showed up calm and serious, asked questions my son answered with a steady voice and a pile of logs. Jacobson got it. He took everything, warned us not to engage with Sandra, and promised the case would go federal. We thought we'd finally found help. But then the retaliation started. A letter from a fancy law firm landed in our mailbox, accusing us of stalking, harassment, cyber attacks, the works. The smear campaign kicked in, local bloggers painting my son as a hacker. The school suspending him, friends ghosting us. We found a dead crow on our porch, our car tires slashed, neighbors whispering behind their hands. Sandra's people, whoever they were, had money and reach, and they were going to destroy us however they could. But instead of breaking, my son got sharper. He worked with the feds, planted a tracer in the network, watched the organization try to cover its tracks, and in their panic, slip up. Turns out Sandra wasn't even high on the food chain. She was just a mule managed by a handler named Argent, a man I'd seen in a black car outside her house. The network itself, global. Hidden in plain sight, they used normal people, normal homes to hide unspeakable crimes. The more my son and Jacobson's team uncovered, the more the network started to fall apart. They found the architect, the mastermind, living it up in Miami of all places. When the takedown came, it was like something out of a movie. Coordinated raid servers, seized defendants, swept up all over the world. And Sandra. She turned on her handlers, testified for the prosecution, but it didn't save her from a life sentence. The trial was brutal, defense lawyers turning every trick, painting my son as the villain, but he held his ground. When they accused him of fabricating the evidence, he just said, "No, sir, I didn't create it, but I wish I'd never had to see it." The only people in this room who know about making images like that are your clients. You could hear a pin drop. The verdict was everything we'd prayed for, guilty on every count. Justice, finally. But it didn't feel like victory, not really. The children, their lives shattered. Ours too. We moved back eventually, but nothing was ever the same. My son quit computers, started talking about designing real buildings, places that couldn't be corrupted or used for darkness. Me, I got involved in child advocacy, installed cameras, trusted no one. We survived, yeah, but we'll always carry the scars. The neighborhood looks the same, but I know better now. Behind every door, who knows what's happening? The only reason the world knows what happened behind ours is because my son refused to let evil hide in the dark. So here's my question for you. How do you rebuild trust after something like this? Do you ever truly feel safe again? Or is every suburban street just a story waiting to unravel? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I know we're not the only ones who've looked behind the curtain and seen what's really out there.